Bertrand Moingeon, thanks for joining us on Xerfi Canal. You are a professor of strategic management at HEC Paris. And one of the keys to successful strategic management is identity management. That will be our topic for today. First question, to be as clear as possible, how could you exactly define this notion of identity, of corporate identity?
So I would like to start with an analogy in order to define the notion of organizational identity. The analogy is, what is the identity of a physical person? In order to define the identity of a physical person, you can have a look to the ID card of this person, the national card. You can also take into account different characteristics, the kind of background of this person, the kind of position that this person has occupied during his or her career. So in fact, you take into account a set of characteristics that, if you take them all together, will make this person unique. That will define the identity of a person. So in comparison, the identity of an organization is very similar. It's a set of characteristics that will make this organization different from other organizations, that will make this organization unique. So in fact, it's answering the question, who is this organization?
More specifically, what are the dimensions of corporate identity for a company?
So in a book I published with Guillaume Swenen, Corporate and Organizational Identities, we identified 5 dimensions, 5 facets, which are in interaction, interrelated. The first dimension is what we call the professed identity. It's basically the way the CEO, top management answer the question, who is this company? And they often do that by defining the mission, the raison d'être of the company. The second dimension has to do with the communication. It is the projected identity. How you answer the question, who is this company, by reading the annual report, having a look to the website or the page on Facebook, corporate communication, generally speaking. The third dimension is the manifested identity. It has to do with informal communication, what an ethnographer would observe in a company, the routines, the patterns of behaviors, all elements that will help, again, answering this question, who is this company, from the point of view, for instance, of an ethnographer. The fourth dimension is the internal image of the employees, what we call the experienced identity, how the employees of a company will perceive the organization. And the fifth dimension, it's the external dimension, very close to the notion of reputation. It has to do with the way different stakeholders will answer the question, who is this organization? Those stakeholders, they can be the customers, they can be the partners, they can be the suppliers of a company.
So now the great question is, how can management articulate these various dimensions? Do you have any good practices to recommend to management?
Yeah, what we know is that if you don't manage the identity will still be there, but it will be unmanaged. So you take the risk of having a misalignment among those 5 facets. So our recommendation is clearly to have a broad perspective and to have a transversal approach. Too often, experience identity is managed by the HR team. The projected identity is managed by the communication team. The attributed identity by the marketing team. But in fact, you need to integrate all those dimensions, and this is basically the job of the executive committee. And this has to be a priority for the CEO of the company.
Last question, Bertrand Moingeon. Why is it so important to think about this corporate identity for companies?
It's important because if you don't work on the alignment, you may create frustration. So let's take an example. If the CEO advocates empowerment, delegation, but if he or she doesn't walk the talk, then the employees will not be happy in this company. They will be frustrated. So this will have a negative impact on the image, internal image of a company, on their what we call the experienced identity. It's the same thing for customers. If customers, if you advocate customer centricity, and if you don't walk the talk, then you will frustrate your customers.
So, of course, the global performance of the company is also at stake. Thank you
Definitely.
very much. Bertrand Moingeon, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.